Do you know that there are certain things, certain opportunities that are already yours right now? I'm not talking about, oh, God is preparing you here for something that you're going to walk into in the future. No, I'm talking about things that He has already prepared for you to walk in them right now. Not next year, not next season. In fact, like yesterday. And those things are just sitting right there, waiting for you to outgrow certain things, waiting for you to exit your childish era. Now, I know this may stink a little because nobody wants to think of themselves as childish. In fact, we get very irritated by childish behaviors around us. That's why I don't want to sound like this person just talking down on you. I want you to watch this video till the end and hear the voice of conviction and not the voice of condemnation. I pray that as you go through this video, you're able to see and celebrate how far you have come, but you are equally able to recognize the distances that you still have to go. You see, this is a safe space. For you, my returning subscribers, you know that this is a safe space. If you're new here, this is a safe space. So please consider subscribing to the channel and joining this community. We are all growing here. So I want to see us in the comment section, sharing those childish ways that we are letting go of this year, and equally sharing those areas that we are maturing in. Let us encourage each other to keep going. So let's get into it. 5 signs that you're exiting your childish era and maturing as a godly woman. When you desire to contribute more than you consume, when you're shifting from the me first mindset into the contribution mindset. You see, a baby's entire world revolves around its own needs, right? Feed me, hold me, comfort me, change me. And when you're done, do it all over again. If you don't do it, I will cry, I will shout, I will scream, I will throw a tantrum. I had no idea how energy draining and painful nursing a baby was until I had my own 3 kids. These little people can take your money, your time, your energy, and all they would keep doing is just take, 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 take. But when you're exiting your childish era, you get uncomfortable only consuming without contributing. You're uncomfortable with only taking people's time, money, prayers, expecting them to continuously pour into you emotionally without you doing the same for them or for others. You know that you are maturing as a godly woman when you stop all the excuses, the blame game, and start taking responsibility for the change that you want to see in your life, and start contributing to the change that you want to see in the world around you. Using your unique gifts and talents, you start contributing to the fashion industry, the food industry, the health system, the school systems. Do you know that just intentional parenting, you can be changing the culture one child at a time? You know that you're exiting your childish era when you move from just bless me God to how can I serve you God? How can I be a part of your plan to reconcile man back to yourself? How can I be a part of helping people get back in alignment with your will for their lives? Now, does this mean that a mature godly woman does not consume? Of course not. You have to consume in order to be able to contribute. The difference is that your desire to contribute surpasses your craving to only consume. If the only thing that brings you joy and satisfaction at the end of the day when you put your head on the pillow is the car you drive, the house you have, the job you have, the money in your bank account, then you're still operating from a self-centered mindset, which is a sign of immaturity. And to be honest with you, it's fleeting. You see, a godly woman needs these things, desires these things, and I personally believe she should enjoy these things as well. I love to enjoy good things, but we cannot just consume only for personal pleasure. When maturity kicks in, you go beyond that. You begin to see those things as tools to fulfill a greater purpose. Now, let me take a minute and talk to you, that godly woman who is saying, but I've already been contributing. I have been showing up, pouring out, sacrificing, giving, loving, serving, forgiving. And right now I'm tired. I don't even know if anybody notices what I do. Sis, I want to remind you that God sees. He sees every hidden act of love. He sees how you were continuously serving even when nobody was clapping for you. And even more importantly, He honors it and He is faithful and just to reward it. So here's my encouragement for you. Rest when you need to, but don't quit. Pull back, not from serving, but from striving. Stop trying to do everything in your own power and in your own might. It will crush you. Ride on the wings of grace. Allow the Holy Spirit to fill you again. You cannot keep pouring from an empty cup. Let Him restore your joy of service and be reminded that whatsoever thing that you are doing, be it in the mundane things of life, in your home, at work, maybe on a big or small platform, whatever you do, you're doing it as unto the Lord. And no man ever serves God and goes back empty-handed. He's the rewarder, of those who diligently seek Him. You may not see it now, but you're going to reap of that harvest in due season. So let's get out there and be contributors, but don't be afraid to consume. This year, I am consuming, but I'm consuming with intention. I'll be reading and learning and growing and resting and doing some self-care. I have been blessed with men and women of God who are pouring into my life so that I can in turn pour into the lives of others. You see, be the reason why somebody dreams again. Be the reason why somebody who is about to give up hopes again. Be the reason why somebody in lack gets provision. Be the reason why somebody is even lovingly provoked to get up from slumber and start doing something with their lives. Be the reason why somebody is drawn to the saving grace and love of God. And for you who has already been serving, if no one has told you this lately, let me say it. Thank you. Thank you for loving. Thank you for serving. Thank you for showing up. It matters to the world and it matters to God. So you matter. The next sign that you're maturing as a godly woman is when you have the courage to acknowledge your limitations without playing small. One of the signs of spiritual and emotional maturity is when you can accept your weaknesses and your strengths without allowing them to define or limit you. I often say that it's not humility not to know what you're good at, to be over here playing small. And it's not confidence either to be over here trying to prove to be something that you are not. Both show signs of insecurity and immaturity. A mature godly woman is confident enough to make it clear to you where she has been, where she's going, and where she is at the moment, knowing that acknowledging those limitations does not make her small or incapable. It rather makes her wise. She knows when to move boldly in her strength, but she also knows when to move humbly in her limitations, seeking help, delegating tasks, learning, and growing. Earlier on, it took me a while dancing from either side to finally understand that God takes over when we let down our guard and allow Him to meet us right where we are. Maybe you're that person who has been over here playing small because you're surrounded by people who are still seeing you through the lens of your past. Or maybe you're that person on this other side trying to prove a point because you're surrounded by people who are unable to see where you are going. Let down your guard. Let God meet you right where you are and carry you, move you forward. There's nothing as peaceful as flowing in God's rhythm. So declare it to yourself. I may not know everything, but God has given me enough clarity for where I am right now. I know enough to start, and so I'm going to start and I'm going to learn as I go. The third sign is when you start moving away from that place of dissatisfaction to a place of peace and contentment. This is not easy, but it is one of those big signs of maturity. You know that you're maturing when instead of constantly feeling behind, feeling like you're lacking, feeling like you need to have more, be more in order to be fulfilled, you start seeing that you don't need a perfect life to enjoy perfect peace. You begin to see that peace is something that has already been freely given to you and you can enjoy it right now, even in your current state. That's why the Bible calls it peace that surpasses human understanding. Another thing about my kids when they were young is that the youngest one was always crying for the toys that his siblings were playing with. So the elder ones would give it to him and then they go look for another toy. And before they know it, he drops it and he starts crying for what they have again. You see, many of us behave like my little son. We start off something, before it can bear fruit, we abandon it and move to the next exciting thing. Before it can amount to anything, you run to the next trending thing. It's what they call shiny object syndrome. It's like whatever everyone else is doing is always more appealing than what God has put in your own heart to do. The grass is always greener on the other side. But remember that that grass is green because someone took the time to water it. So maybe you should stay over here and water yours. Maybe this year you don't actually need a new strategy or productivity tool. Maybe what you really need is consistency. What you need is to stop being distracted and start making use of what you already have in your hand. Please, if you're in a season right now where you're experiencing a lot of restlessness, this should not make you feel bad. Attaining a certain level of contentment does not happen overnight. It takes a lot of intentionality. We've all had those restless hearts, scattered focus at one point or the other in our lives before we finally learned to settle in God's peace, believing in His love and His amazing plan for our lives. Also, it's important that you should know that there are several reasons why you may be experiencing the restlessness that you're experiencing and the discontentment. First, it could be just because you are a multi-talented person, a deep thinker. So many ideas come into your mind. So you find yourself a starter of so many things and a finisher of none. Another reason could be lack of identity. You see, if you find identity in external things, of course, you're going to chase after them. And you will even do it more if they are trying to slip off your hands. You see, if you're just achieving things without knowing the why, you may achieve them and still feel very empty. Haven't you seen these people who have everything going on for them? They still feel purposeless. They still feel empty. And that's why they may be envying somebody who seemingly does not even have on the external as much as they do. Now, this last one is the reason why most of us, if not all of us, struggle with restlessness and discontentment. And that is because of the ungodly desires within us that do not align with God's will for our lives. Our misplaced desires, they are the reasons for our inner sufferings. In James 4, we are told that all this quarreling and fighting and comparison and envy and jealousy that is going on among us is because of those desires that are at war within us. And we are told that why is it they're warring? Because we don't ask, we don't take it to our Father. And why is it that when we ask, sometimes we don't receive? Because we are asking with the wrong motive, to satisfy our own pleasures. Let me share with you guys something practical that I always do whenever maybe jealousy, envy, comparison, comes knocking at my door. I get a sheet of paper and I write down my desires, my prayer topics. Sometimes I just need to grab the book where it's already written down. And then I act like I'm a coach talking to myself. I'm like, Chantal, why do you think that you deserve answers to all these prayer topics and they don't? Why do you think that these prayers should be answered and theirs shouldn't? You see, when you ask yourself this question, you will just hear how silly it sounds and you would find yourself laughing it off. See, our flesh will constantly be at war with the spirit. These emotions will constantly be knocking at the door. Sometimes you close the door, they are trying to open up a window. That's why the Bible says we resist the enemy. For you to have to resist somebody, it means it is coming at full force at you. So we can't sit down and be negotiating. But you see, as you mature and feed your spirit man, your spirit man becomes more alive. It's easy for you to have those things come and they don't last a minute or two. You carry out an exercise like the one I've just told you, and before you know, it's gone. Imagine Jesus himself after fasting and praying, who was right there, the enemy, trying to tempt him. So it's a constant fight, but it's one that we can win. So it's my prayer that you're able to chase your dreams this year from a place of contentment, not laziness though. Contentment does not mean that you stop growing, you stop learning, you stop working hard. Contentment is not the opposite of ambition. It simply means that you have goals without allowing them to consume you. You have a vision, you desire more without being miserable about your present state. It means that you are able to work from a place of rest and not striving from a place of anxiety and overwhelm. This year, may you be able to stay focused and finish that which you have been called to start. Now, the last but one, and I hope you're able to stick with me until the last one because it's very important. But this next one is that a godly woman, a mature godly woman, does not look down on the people she has outgrown. And you see, as we are growing, we outgrow people. For me, I consider it in two categories. The first one is that we may outgrow people's help. Let me use an example to explain what I mean. In the early days of my YouTube channel, I remember the very first time that I had to go live. I didn't even know how to set it up. And one of my sisters who also has a channel here, she came to like just help me set up everything. She even volunteered to be a moderator. She got one of our other sisters, and both of them were moderators. And I remember saying, Marie, I just pray that too many people don't come today because this is my first trial. I want that if I mess up, I'm not messing up in front of so many people. You know, it's funny what fear can make you pray for. Can you imagine? I was saying that day that people shouldn't show up. And then just the very next few lives after, I'm like, please, I hope people show up. But thank you all so much. You always show up for my live streams and you are so engaging. I appreciate you all so much. And by the way, we are going to be resuming that very, very soon. I'm going to talk about that more later. So to a certain extent, it's like I have outgrown that initial help that I had. But it doesn't mean that I've outgrown those friendships. It doesn't mean that I forget. You see, that's the problem with us. As we're going through life, we're going to have people come in our lives in seasons. And at some point, their assignment in our lives will be over and we may not need them again. You don't have to carry everybody and still be operating with everybody in the same capacity and all of that. But don't forget, don't put people in the trash because you don't need them anymore. I saw this video, I think it's Instagram, and this lady said, an umbrella becomes a burden to everybody when the rain ceases. And that's so true. If I leave the house with an umbrella, if I'm going to come back with that umbrella, it better still be raining. Because if that rain is no more, then that umbrella is staying where it was. I will forget until the next time it rains again. Now I'm looking for my umbrella. That's how a lot of us treat, people who come in our lives in season. No, a mature, godly woman knows that in as much as I maybe don't need you anymore in that capacity, you don't forget the seeds that they had sown in your life. You see, I always tell people that sometimes the difference between you and somebody may just be opportunity. There may be somebody out there way talented than you are and can do better than you are, but you are where you are right now just because some doors of opportunities were open for you. Never forget those people who give you those doors of opportunities on your journey. It is very, very important. Another way that we sometimes outgrow, people can be in the growth journey itself. You see, it is true that the moment you start growing, your circle changes. So it changes either because you are intentionally moving away from certain places and people that you used to be with, because being there will prevent you from living this new life. And as you're also growing in life, sometimes your circle also changes and even gets smaller, not necessarily because of any intentional thing that you are doing. Sometimes when you're growing, people just unnecessarily become intimidated and so they pull away. Some people are just confused, they don't know how to deal with this new you, and so sometimes they can pull away. A mature godly woman knows how to handle these different changes in their lives. You don't look down on somebody just because you've come out from a mess that you all used to be in there. But that doesn't mean that you don't draw your boundaries, right? You have to draw your boundaries. Hey, I just can't be there anymore. But you somehow carry yourself in a way that you can be the light that they can see and also come out from that dark place, or can also grow. All these things we are being told, block people, cut people off. Yes, sometimes those things have their place. But sometimes all you need to do is just recategorize, and that is how a mature person has to be. You have to learn to walk with different kind of people, because somebody also had to learn to walk with you when you still had your childish ways. So a mature godly woman does not look down on people, places, things that she has outgrown. You look back and you appreciate how far you've come. You try your best to be the light, remain the light. It's just a matter of time before they're going to get in line. And finally, one of the most important signs that you are maturing as a godly woman is that you begin to yearn for deeper things in life. Your appetite changes. You are no longer comfortable to settle for shallow things, quick fixes, right? Quick fix to your health, quick fix to your finances, a quick fix to everything in your life, right? You're no longer just about bless me, Lord. You are like transform me, Lord. Not because blessings are not needed or desired, but because you know that the blessings are the fruits of the transformation that is going to happen. A mature, godly woman is open to self-examination, even when it hurts, because she prefers growth over comfort. That's why she surrounds herself not only with people who like and celebrate her, but also with people who challenge her to grow. No wonder sometimes God has to move us from some of our comfortable circles and place us in places where you're not easily liked, validated, celebrated, so that you can grow. I once replayed one of my videos immediately after it had aired, and I immediately saw that some things just didn't go right. It felt so embarrassing, and not too long, I had calls coming in from some of my close friends and some women in my life. Some were just so direct, like, girl, what happened today? And, I had other people trying to kind of like sweetly put it out there to me. But even though it did not feel so good, I saw it coming. And at the same time, I was so appreciative that I had, those kind of voices in my life. You see, support is not always somebody cheering for you, somebody validating you and clapping for you. Sometimes support is someone seeing you going down the wrong path and cares enough and loves you enough to tell you so that that vision doesn't die, instead of sitting back and laughing and saying finally and making it a gossip. You see, a mature, godly woman knows that even though I need to be in environments where I'm celebrated, I'm validated, I'm encouraged, I'm being, clapped for. On the other hand, I also need that kind of environment where it's like iron sharpening iron, and it's friction. It's painful. It doesn't feel good, but it just makes you cut better. But remember that they'll only be comfortable to do that if you give them room to do so. There are people that I know that I can be that kind of voice in their lives, and there are other people that I already know that they would read it differently. Be careful with voices that come as voices of correction or conviction, but they're actually voices of condemnation. Voices that sow seed of self-doubt in you. You have to be very careful with such voices as well. I've had a good number of such texts, and people slide into my DMs with things like that. I remember once somebody that I knew but had no idea that they even watch my videos or know that I'm doing the work that I do online, because I've never seen them interact with anything. But here they were to slide into my DM and say something ridiculous about what I do. There was this left side of my brain putting together some words to say, but then I was like, Chantal, you are too mature for this, and I just had to let go. Above all, the ultimate voice you should be opening up to is the voice of the Holy Spirit, because that is the voice of truth. Ask Him, Lord, show me my blind spots. In what ways am I being my own worst enemy? In what ways am I standing in my own way? The psalmist said, search me, O God, and see if there be any wicked way in me. Maturity in Christ is not about knowing more, it's about becoming more. And it's not always easy, but it is so worth it. And the good thing about growth is that it's a lifelong thing. None of us have arrived. But when you take steps and then you look back and see how far you have come, it is worth celebrating. I can't tell you how many times I've caught myself reacting to situations differently than I would have done a year ago. Choosing patience over frustration, wisdom over impulse, saying yes to a situation that I normally would have shied away from, or unapologetically saying no to something that I would have struggled. Choosing faith over fear in a situation that is kind of troubling. In that moment, I'm just like, girl, you're growing. And this is beautiful. So I'm calling on you, my godly women, to ask God for the grace, the strength, the wisdom to exit the childish areas in your life and to grow so that you can rightly carry out your assignment. Okay, I've been talking. Now I'd love to hear from you. What is that one area in your life that you've experienced the most growth? And what is that other area that you feel like you're being called to grow in this season? Let's continue the conversation in the comment section below. And if this video was a blessing to you, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And thank you so much for watching until the end. I hope to see you in the next.